Well, good afternoon, Interbet fans and all the fans of Winning Ways show. And we've got a very interesting afternoon ahead of us because I really believe that it was time. Let me just get the mic out the way to chat about Mary Oppenheimer's daughters and everyone that's involved in this whole new restructuring as far of Phumelela is concerned. And obviously, we all know now that the business practitioner has has voted in favor, or the creditors have voted in favor of Mary Oppenheimer's daughters. So let's chat firstly about a couple of things that have happened during the week. Well, Delia Bushell, who was CEO of the British Jockey Club, she's resigned amid a crisis that she's had with, which has included serious misconduct, bullying, sharing offensive media. There's a whole lot of things that really you could have leveled against a lot of chairman of the South African Jockey Club, or the NHRA as they're called now. And hopefully one of the things that will get seriously restructured is the NHRA under this new race co, as it's called by Charles Savage. And we'll just talk about a couple of other things that happened during the week. Well, the main focus was on the Gold Cup, and we had the Gold Cup last week and won by 40-1 outsider, trained by Gareth Van Zyl, and congratulations to him. And Samanga Kamalo, who rode an absolutely incredible race on this horse, Paths to Victory, go to the front. We all thought that he was a pacemaker, but just turning for home, you got a feeling that maybe no one was going to catch him. The disappointment of the Gold Cup, as far as I was concerned, was that if you're going to put a false rail, you've got to consider how horses run races. And the false rail is nothing more than a spur into the straight, which really doesn't help anyone, because what it does is holds up all the horses behind, and the horse in front dictates, which was amply shown by the Gold Cup. The horse in front dictates gets a run off the spur because the cutoff is when you turn into the straight, and everything behind is being held up. The horses that are wide or are one off the fence are now trying to fan out and try and get a run. Now, if I was putting up the false rail, knowing a bit about racing, I would cut the false rail off about 50 meters before the straight, and therefore you get an opportunity for the horses on the inside behind, following the leader, to be able to get a run at the leader, and you get an opportunity for the horses on the outside, once you cut off the false rail and meet up straight with the running rail, to get a run as well. So this false rail actually defeated the object of trying to spread out the horses, and patently the going seemed to be better up the inside to middle, and really the horses that came with their runs on the outside had no chance all day, which means that the draw was vital. And really, Greyville actually is a racetrack that sometimes the draw doesn't make that much difference, but it depends on how you place the false rail. That's my summation of it. Firstly, those of you that watched the Winning Way Show YouTube product on Saturday morning will have picked up that I made Ecstatic Green one of the best bets I've ever seen. I thought 2-1 was an unbelievable price. She would be suited by the coming back in trip. She would be suited by a number of factors, including the draw, which helped her. And certainly she should have been the bet of the day. We then followed up with Eric the Red, who I really thought could not get beaten. And Stuart Pettigrew's filly was a very strong fancy. And then the Colts race, I said anything, and as a result, we got anything. Unfortunately, in the Gold Cup, I went for Shenanigans, who had a beautiful position, but never really quickened up at all in the straight, and as did most of the horses that were one off the fence or certainly tried to come up out wide. He finished at the back of the field, must have gone wrong. So all in all, it was a very good Gold Cup. What I'm going to show you here, if I can get it, is the Racing Masters trophy, because I ran second in the Racing Masters. That's the Racing Masters trophy for running the runner-up position, which I'll try and get up there. runner-up position in the Racing Masters. Very proud of myself. I've been runner-up a few times. I got beaten by none other than Anthony Sear, who's won it before. And we had the Racing Masters over the weekend, and it was a great event. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Unfortunately, not the participation we would have liked, but under the COVID circumstances and that, you've got to thank Wild Coast Sun for a marvelous job they did. Fred Beaver, and the track was in great condition. And then Graham Hawkins, Phil Giorgio, and Desiree did an unbelievable job on putting on this event. And I think a good time was had by all. I played with some fabulous players that did it on a draw basis. They just drew everyone out of a hat. And on the second day, I shared a cart with a very, very nice man called Mo Hassan, who was a real pleasure to meet, and enjoyed playing with him. So let's move on and chat about what is going to happen with racing in South Africa. So the build-up has been that the creditors have got to approve the new buyer, and they've got to pick out who the new purchaser was, so that they get maximize, obviously, whatever they get out of what is left of the bones of Phumelela after it had been seriously run into the ground, I might say, by previous management, which included Rian du Plessis, who seemed to be on the side of Betfred. Who knows how he was involved with Betfred, but it looked all very, very strange. Rian du Plessis goes out and boasts that he made 155 million rand profits in 2018 when he was the CEO. As soon as Marcus Jooste hit the wall, he bolted for personal reasons. Well, his Marcus's best chum, so why wouldn't he bolt? Okay, and now he suddenly wants to come back with a new suitor in the form of Betfred. So we looked at the two proposals, and it was patently clear even to the business practitioner that although Betfred might have offered a little more money than Mary Oppenheimer Daughters did to salvage Phumelela and take over all the assets, they had a number of conditions on which they were going to pay out whatever they said they were going to pay out, and have the business ongoing. Now, the most exciting part of this whole thing came with Gold Circle bringing an urgent application to the High Court for their share in PGI, which is the Phumelela Gaming International arm of Phumelela, which runs the overseas operation from the Isle of Man. Now, what was fascinating about this was a number of things. One, that in 2013, Phumelela and Gold Circle entered an agreement whereby Teletrack would be the vehicle with which they would run their betting operations, basically. And that at that stage, Gold Circle and Kenilworth were in bed together and owned a share of this, as did, sorry, I've got something that's crawling around on my head here. I don't know what it is, but it seems like there's bugs in this place. Anyway, what happened was that in the Phumelela statement of accounts, PGI seemed to be wholly owned by Phumelela itself. Now, then an agreement was made between Phumelela and Tabcorp, and I assume that's Tabcorp Australia, that they'd go 50-50 in this whole agreement. Gold Circle kept getting their dividends until about, I don't know how long ago, but they apparently owed 70 million rand plus in dividends from this little enterprise that brings in quite a lot of money and is probably the crown jewel of the whole Phumelela operation. And they went to court, Gold Circle did, to try and arrange to make sure that they were part of the preferential creditors, and that their interest in PGI was upheld. Well, the courts kicked it out, and I'm not sure, I never read the judgment, whether the court kicked it out, the High Court kicked it out, on the basis that it wasn't urgent, which I suspect that's why it was dismissed, or on the basis that they don't own this 39% that they say they own. Now, my only reading would be that maybe Gold Circle didn't sign the correct agreements with Phumelela Gaming International or Phumelela as to how the whole Teletrack scenario would be run. I can tell you that we started Winning Ways in 2009, so we ran for 10 years. And when Teletrack came into being, we started running into problems as far as Winning Ways was concerned. And Winning Ways was a weekly program, and we ran every single week for 10 years. And we produced it via Gold Circle. They did the production. And we found sponsors who helped pay for us and ended up with losing a lot of our sponsors, mainly because Phumelela put the kibosh on us and really didn't treat us very well at all. They changed our time slot. They edited content which they found or thought was undesirable as far as they were concerned. Whenever we criticized or made suggestions to Phumelela, we were immediately taken off air, or that part was cut out of the show. And we were put on time as far as the show's production was concerned, and it had to be there by 3:00 so they could go through it. So we had to courier it up, and eventually we started wiring it up so that they could crit it and make sure that it had no criticism. Well, we criticized a number of people in a number of different areas. Eventually, we became quite surreptitious the way we criticized Messrs. Rob Scott and his cronies, the way they put on their betting platform, the way they put on bets that were of absolutely no use, the way they put on product like futsal and all those other things, and as well documented as to what certainly I had to say. Paul had to be a bit more careful, so we always played good cop, bad cop. And eventually we were taken off air by Phumelela. Now, I believe that's one of the great credits I have in life, is having run a television show with Paul Lafferty for 10 years, every single week. And that was testament to the popularity and the content we put on our show, which people loved. And hopefully whoever takes over this Teletrack management, apparently there are people in the pipeline to put it all together, and there's going to be a whole new running of it. Hopefully we are consulted, and certainly I would be consulted. I've been a leading man in Teletrack from inception. I did the first on-course presentations. I ran the morning show for many years. I was a main presenter for many years. And then we put on Winning Ways, which was completely conceptualized and put together by us. And I got a lot of ideas, I must tell you. There's a lot of things that I can certainly help with. And I really hope that my services are required in putting this whole thing together. I know there are a lot of people out there saying, oh, they'd like to work for the new program, new company, and this and that and the other. Well, so would I. And I hope that that my hope is that we can put together a whole new format that is going to encompass and encourage the racing enthusiast, instead of what has happened up to now, where we have kicked the racing enthusiast up the backside and even denigrated our product as far as the punter is concerned, in that we have not given them what they've needed and what they've wanted. I'm very confident that the new management and the new structures that they put in place will actually engage and involve people like myself in the whole new production of racing. So now let's go into what actually happened. So you got the Phumelela International. That is a crown jewel of Phumelela. That will now go to Mary Oppenheimer and MOD, as they call themselves. And what will happen from there is that hopefully Gold Circle will get their cut, which they're entitled to, and they will formulate a new stakes program, which will not encompass shareholders and not be impinged by shareholders, and that this whole new co or race co, as Charles Savage has alluded to, will eventually run racing in South Africa for the benefit of the punter and the owner, because that's who you've got to benefit. Because then everyone else is a spin off. Trainers, jockeys, breeders, employees are all employed and make a living out of the company. The punter, he doesn't have to be there, and the owner doesn't have to be there. They will be attracted there by two things: the punter by good service and good product, and the owner by a reasonable stakes ratio and a fair crack of the whip, and as far as how much money his horses actually generate. So we need to know that that is going to happen, and I have no doubt that they're on the right track. Let's look at the assets. The assets were 50% of Interbet. Now, Interbet, we've been sponsored by them for many years, and we know what a great company they are. They pay out immediately. You have no problem with any bets that you've ever had with them. They lay odds and they pay them. They're a gateway for the bookmakers to operate through. And on top of that, they run the biggest single tote operation in South Africa. So everything goes through the tote. As far as Interbet is concerned, they get the commission, which is how it should be with all betting houses. And we've started a hashtag, Open Bets Must Fall, because we believe that the open bet is the biggest single derogatory product against racing in South Africa. And you can understand the bookmakers using it because they were given the opportunity to use it. It should have been nipped in the bud. It should have been a reasonable and ongoing discussions with the people that ran the open bet, which were the bookmakers, and certainly some compromise should have come to play. There should have never ever been all these court cases that happened. I believe that if you go to a betting company and you say to them, "Listen, guys, this is what we can give you in return for you betting through our platform, which is Saftote," you will find that most of them will then fall into line. But then from there, here's the crunch. Bookmakers that have no license, and there are many underground bookmakers, have got to be closed down because they are the biggest perpetrators of the open bet and of taking out of this business and not putting anything back. So, unlicensed bookmakers, illegal bookmakers, I'm sorry, you're going to go under the new regime it's they've got to stop. You've got to have a license. You've got to be part of the clan, and you've got to be a contributor. Interbet, Superbets, 50% they own of that. Well, that is certainly not worth what they paid for it. I think Interbet they'll make a big profit out of, and there certainly will be some value in it. Then SW Security, who I know nothing about. I don't have any idea who they are. The Tracks, Teletrack, International Property, and PGI, and their affiliation with Tabcorp. It's quite interesting reading the deposition from Gold Circle to the High Court, and you read pages 47 and 48 of the Gold Circle application, and they were put in by John Stewart, who was the last CEO of Pumpumelela. He resigned in March, and quite interesting to see what he's written. So the way forward. What is the way forward? The way forward, in my opinion, is simple. And it is really simple. It's not difficult at all. It's just a matter of putting everything together. Firstly, the NHA. And I've harped on this for many months now and many years. The NHA should be a regulatory body. They should be a rubber stamping body. They should not run the stud book. They should not run the race day. They should produce stipendiary stewards and be the policemen of racing. And the laboratory should be closed down and outsourced, because the laboratory is a huge cause for concern, not only in the way it's run, but in the cost it incurs to racing. So that would be the NHA as far as I'm concerned. Teletrack. So what you do with Teletrack is you form a whole new television operation, which I think is probably what's going to happen, whereby you service the punter through Teletrack because it's your marketing operation. And you service the racing industry, which means that you actually give them the news and views that they need to know, which includes magazine programs. And there's got to be magazine programs. Whether you outsource magazine programs, whether you buy magazine programs, there are so many interesting magazine programs on the internet. But most people haven't really got the time or the inclination to go on the internet and start looking for them. We did with Winning Ways, and we put a lot of interesting magazine programs on the show. Those programs can be televised, and you just get permissions and you televise them in your quiet time, and you've got lots of quiet time. I mean, from 10 o'clock at night, there's no betting. You're going to have to look at your betting bouquets, because I think that there's a lot of wastage as far as betting bouquets are concerned. Time spent and money spent on including very minimal amounts into your bottom line really doesn't make sense to me. And there are many types of shows that you can put on which would be interesting to people. I think that you need to have game shows. You need to have interactive shows where people, especially in today's modern digital age and age where we're able to communicate with each other on platforms like this, you can include lots of people in all types of shows that you can put on. You certainly got to cut the time between races. Well, let's come to that as far as the race day is concerned. The race day is the next thing that's got to look at. And the race day has got to be made snappier. At the moment, it's unwieldy, unprofessional, and disorganized. It's got to be snappy, professional, and organized. To do those, you've got to cut the time between races. You've got to get everyone on board as far as Canterdown is concerned, as far as jockeys being in the weighing room, in the parade ring are concerned. You've got to have horses in the parade ring on time. You've got to get to the start. You've got to race. That's the right way to run your product. I mean, the race day is very, very important, and you've got to attract people to the race day. Now, I know that Gold Circle have on the Friday night had these huge giveaways, and they've got people to the races, and I think that is one way of getting it. But another way of getting people to the races is to target markets that might have time on their hands to come to race meetings. And everyone says, "Oh, you don't need to. You need to get young people involved in this and that." I believe that there's a huge market out there with pensioners, old age homes, all those type of people. And if you give them something that's going to give them some enjoyment, they will be back. There's lots of ideas. I mean, the Bowmans who had 3A racing, they had some fantastic ideas. These kids have got great ideas as far as the young generation is concerned. Us old boys, we've got great ideas as far as the old generation is concerned. You've got to meld all of these together, intermingle them, chat about them, have bodies that are going to attack these things vigorously in order to include and improve your race day attendance, because race day attendance can be improved. I saw Delmar, I saw what they did. I mean, it's just phenomenal. I've seen little racetracks in the Midwest that have got thousands and thousands of patrons coming there. Why have they got patrons coming there? Because people want to be part of the action. Then your betting, and I did touch on this, but I think it's vitally important. I think that your betting programs, your betting applications, your betting bouquet is so unwieldy and so unnecessary, and actually removes from the charm and allure of betting on racehorses. People find it easier to go into a casino or go online to a casino and bet. And why do that? Because we have produced a mishmash of bets that make it absolutely impossibly difficult for the man in the street to bet. Let's make it easy. Let's make it simple. Let's make our whole business simple. Encourage people to perform. Employ people on a performance basis. This is, to me, vitally important. I don't believe there should be any big salaries to anyone from the CEO down. There should be basic packages, with performance bonuses. If you perform, you get a bonus. If you don't perform, you don't get a bonus. Not like the government gives bonuses to anyone who's not even working. We have got to build our model on that. And if we do, we will succeed, we will survive, and we will flourish. Thank you for joining me. From me, James Goodman, to all of you out there, I hope you've enjoyed it. It's just some thoughts that I've just put together, chatted about. There's no structure to it, but there is some meaning. And as you all know, I've been involved in countless things that would have improved racing. Reinkersfontein, the race course, the casino, all those things that could have come with it. Keeping Gosforth Park rather than Turfentine. It just goes on and on and on. I have ideas, and I hope I don't die before the ideas are there on the table. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll look forward to bringing you all the previews Saturday and Sunday. Remember, subscribe to my show. Just press the subscribe button, and you'll get all the latest information and updates from me. Have a good one.